Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh reviews AI wiping out jobs and what the future may bring. A classic Monty Python parody of a man pretending to be a woman goes viral. Seattle mayor claims that they won't allow grocery stores to close. Jeep with a V8 gets a price cut of about $20,000. And Tesla recalls their Powerwall. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, see their founder at least twice a day. Guy says he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase, with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Jeeps with V8 engines getting a nice price cut, though it still seems a little overpriced. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Adam Eastmail, who's a writer at thedrive.com, and, well, thankfully, there's no visual disclaimer because you're going to see something glorious, something beautiful, the good old V8. Now, again, thedrive.com, credited to Adam Eastmail, says, quote, you can get the 2026 Jeep Wrangler 392 V8 for $20,000 less than before. Jeep CEO Bob Burtendorf told journalist, we don't want engine to hold engines hostage. Look at that glorious V8, though. Have fun working on that vehicle because there's about 3, maybe 4 square inches of space there. So, yeah, that's gonna be rough for that guy who has to work on that. But nevertheless, fun power. Now he says, quote, if you've been tracking the price of Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392 throughout the years, you may have noticed something. Amid the V8 Wrangler's birth, the subsequent demise, then revival, the price rose by about $25,000 and stayed there. This seems too rich even for Jeep faithful, which is why it's welcoming news that the price will go down considerably for the 2026 model year. Though I would argue, personally, not enough. Now, they say, quote, the upcoming Moab 392 should be around $20,000 cheaper than the 2025 Rubicon. Jeez Louise, I'm so flabbergasted. Which started at $101,990. 6 figures for a Jeep with a V8. Don't forget the U.S. government extortion, or depending on where you live in the world, I believe Texas registration for a vehicle, or the vehicle registration tax, is like 6.25%. So I'll round up maybe $7,000, $8,000 plus in registration fees and a gas tax, which I think we should get rid of, or the gas guzzler tax as well. That's the price of a house. Well, maybe in Iowa, but 6 figures for a Jeep with a V8. Now, compared to the company, highly profitable, I'm sure, good for the shareholders. But I mean, from a consumer's perspective, I can't justify. I'm a pretty frugal guy, obviously. If you watch the show, I drive a Honda, love it. 3 pedals, like all cars should be by default. But yeah, I'm not paying six figures for a Jeep. And I say, according to the brand's CEO Bob, the upcoming run will drop some standard content to bring costs down and help Jeep sell the 6.4-liter Wrangler at a slightly larger scale. Now, he continues to say, quote, a lot of this has to do with timing. He says, think about the industry and how it's evolved. And he says, credits when EVs, tariffs, and things move around. Yeah, exactly. A big contributing factor of why we're seeing a renaissance of the good old American V8 is regulations. The automobile industry is one of the most regulated industries in the world. And yeah, you have to have things like fleet averages, emission standard, emission averages. And if you don't hit them, you get fined billions of dollars. Ford almost had to pay, I believe, $1.8 billion in 2024 because they didn't lose money on enough EVs. I'm only partially exaggerating. The fleet standard for fuel economy wasn't quite up to the U.S. government's, I would argue, arbitrary number that they chose. And yeah, these companies get penalized. So thankfully, again, kind of see pendulum go back and forth. Now there's a little bit less regulation in the auto industry. We're going to see more and more of these great, glorious V8s. Hopefully Stellantis, brings back the pure American muscle, the Dodge Viper with that's 10 cylinders of glory and a stick shift. I try not to get too excited. That is one of the best cars ever. Again, a little bit out of my price point by a couple decimal points, but nevertheless, he says, quote, think about the industry and how it's evolved. Credits when it comes to EVs, tariffs, things move around. And he says, quote, when V8s seem not too long for Stellantis world, Jeep, like Dodge and Ram, marked the moment over with the top limited editions of Last Calls, which, yeah, were proven to be not Last Calls. I almost feel sorry for the fools who bought like the last edition of these, albeit pretty cool vehicles. A bunch of the Dodge Last Call editions had the Charger, the Challenger, the Jeep, and they put on a couple extra pieces of plastic, and they look moderately cool. But yeah, there are some people who foolishly treated them as investment vehicles, pun moderately intended, because it is a physical vehicle. Yeah, again, not financial advice. I will just say that very few vehicles in history have ever beat an index fund like the popular S&P 500. And don't forget, with a car, you also have to worry about storing it, maintaining it, insurance. It's the whole thing. Those stocks, it's traditionally usually just go up throughout time. But yeah, there are a lot of people who said, oh yeah, I'll pay $100,000 over sticker for Dodge Challenger Hellcat Banana Falcon Last Call Edition. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit. They called it something slightly fancier than that. Now, they say that, quote, now that V8s are no longer a bad word around the company, as Dodge CEO Matt McClure said earlier this year, there appears to be a renewed approach to get these engines in front of as many enthusiasts who are willing to buy them. They say, ultimately, this move was one of the last puzzle pieces Jeep had to fit to reduce prices across its range. Bob alluded that back in the summer, the Wrangler's price coming down for 2026, and the 392 equipped Commando, introduced prepared by Fox factory vehicles, started approximately $30,000 less than the existing Rubicon with the same engine. And he says, quote, so here you go, fans of Hemis and Jeeps alike, you will soon be able to get your Wrangler with a V8 for about $80,000 once again, at least before markups getting piled on by the dealerships, which, yeah, that's the thing as well. Unfortunately, we can't imagine folks who just plonked down six figures for the Rubicon 392 are going to be so enthusiastic in the news, because, yeah, which, again, it blows my mind that there are people out there, and there are some people with extraordinary amounts of disposable income, but there were people out there spending six figures on a Jeep with a V8, which, again, modern Jeeps, it's one of those things where they are not very reliable. They have a cult following. I'll give them the credit in terms of building a brand throughout history. It is one of the, I mean, you see all the Jeeps and all the Ducks and all the mature gals that usually drive them. Can't but notice a lot of my friends who are into off-roading drive different vehicles, or more would be now considered vintage Jeeps. But nevertheless, yeah, they still, they're $80,000 for a Jeep with a V8. To me, that's still insane. Again, a Jeep can be a fun vehicle, have fun maintaining that thing, and especially if you're off-roading, I can see the attraction. It's a fun hobby, a little expensive, but even at $80,000, again, plus tax, let's make it $88,000 just to get a nice round number in terms of, once you buy, do the papers, the fees, the doc, all that crap. That's basically, not, again, I'm pretty fiscally conservative, so I round up. I'm going to say about $90,000 if there's no dealer markup. Yeah, a Jeep with a V8. Why do I just feel, and again, I just can't fathom paying that much money for a Jeep. But let me know, do you think, would you buy it at $80,000 for a Jeep with a V8? And will the average consumer, do you think they'll be swayed and this will have a huge increase on their volume of sales? I understand this is the top edition of the Jeep lineup. Not supposed to be the mass volume unit. That's usually the base model. But, to me, $80,000 just seems outlandish. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the cultural part of the podcast, you have Matt Walsh reacting to the growing of AI and how it will destroy jobs. Now, brought to us thanks to Matt Walsh blog on X, and he says, quote, AI is going to wipe out at least 25 million jobs in the next 5 to 10 years, probably much more. It will destroy every creative field. It will make it impossible to discern reality from fiction. It will absolutely obliterate what's left of the education system. Kids will go through 12 years of grade school and learn absolutely nothing. AI will do it all for them. We have already seen the last truly literate generation. With all of this coming and fast, there is still time to prevent some of the worst outcomes, or at least put them off. But our leaders aren't doing a single thing about any of it. None of them are taking it seriously. We're sleepwalking into a dystopia that any rational person could see from miles away. It's driving me nuts. What are we going to do? Are we going to lie down and let AI take over everything from us? Is that the plan? ? And he got 3.8 million views and 39,000 likes, which unfortunately didn't really give a citing or a source for that fact of 25 million jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. However, if you just poke around the internet, you'll see some similar figures. There's a lot of extrapolation, there's a little guesswork that's being put into that. And there's certainly already a displacement of jobs, especially roles and jobs in which you do a lot of manual tasks. Now, I own a tech company, and we're already seeing automation software, especially with large companies like Microsoft integrating them into their platform. Obviously, you have all the big chatbots, or the Chat GPT, got the Grok if you're on X. There are a lot of those large language models that are already adding value and making some tasks a lot easier. And he's right in terms of what industry is going to be completely decimated by AI. It's going to be media. And it's one of those things where it will be indiscernible from reality in terms of if you're watching something on the YouTube or the Rumble or whatever, because again, the graphics get better and better and better, very similar to video games. And it'll be kind of creepy. You won't be able to tell what is real versus what is fake. Though again, you always tell my show is real because, well, I have a myriad of flaws, obviously. I mean, I usually speak faster than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs. I always tell folks, click that subscribe button. When I first started the show, barely anyone tuned in, maybe family, and I had like 3 subscribers. And I spoke again faster than Ben Shapiro, more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs. But as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I've been slightly better at speaking. Now, you might say I still have a lot of issues, obviously. However, I would argue, statistically speaking, gotten better at speaking, which fuels my theory. The more people that click that button, the better I'll get at speaking, and someday make it through an entire episode speaking perfectly, articulately, and awesomely, which, you know, in Shakespearean up in here, making up words. That's right. Don't just tell your friends, tell your enemies. Your enemies might be so enamored and impressed by your choice of podcast material, they then become your friend. Or they find my face and content so visually visceral and disgusting that they then become a greater enemy, becomes a physical altercation. So maybe I shouldn't recommend it. Either way, make for a funny, interesting story. So tell your friends and tell your enemies about the show. Click that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, again, getting back to the AI revolution, there are going to be a lot of manual tasks. I mean, there is different than when you had, a big parallel in IT was when you had physical books for accounting. You actually would have a physical ledger, be pen and paper. And when Microsoft Excel, well, you had Lotus Notes and you had other technologies, but when Microsoft Excel really came to the forefront and gained a lot of market share, there are a lot of those formulas built into the platform. And of course, if you ever want to know your friends in IT, just tell them Excel's a database. It's not, but it drives tech guys wild. All small businesses use it as a database. It isn't. I like to joke and tell my friends, oh, yeah, it's a database. It's not, but it'll annoy the nerds in your life. So fun way to poke at them. But in all seriousness, that does displace some jobs in accounting, some number jobs where, again, all those formulas are built in. Kind of like if you go to an Excel sheet, just do some numbers, you drag and, just drag it, it'll do it, add up for you, do all some formulas. With AI, we're seeing that a lot in terms of end users, the average American seeing AI. One of the biggest areas is customer support, which I'll feel terribly about all those guys in India who are going to lose their jobs. That's obviously sarcasm. That's another topic for another time, perhaps. But it's an instance where even when I was calling the dealership, when I asked the questions about my Honda, the first prompt when you call is they're talking to an AI chatbot. When you're doing online chat with many websites, you're not really talking to a person, you're talking to a chatbot. And that is already displacing a lot of jobs. Now, the real question is, very similar to the Industrial Revolution and other technological innovations throughout mankind in history, will this destroy more jobs than it creates? Now, this happened to, even the cotton gin that created new jobs. That technology made the role a lot easier. There are new jobs that were created because of it as well. Just like when you had computers come along, now you have on software. Well, now you need people to actually, maintain it, create it, new software, new technologies. Well, cybersecurity became a whole thing. It's one of the biggest things in technology these days. I think for the foreseeable future, it will continue to be the largest topic in technology as well. And I do wonder if you have a triopoly or you maybe have 3 companies that have a majority of the AI market share, again, they will create jobs. And you'll see some areas where they need more programmers, some need more maintain the systems, some to secure those systems. And my gut, with AI though, I do think that you will have a loss in jobs. It won't just only create new jobs in different categories. And I say that because even to maintain and create these things, programming is becoming automated. Again, you still need humans to do it, a majority of the work, but you're seeing some layoffs, and a lot of these big tech companies are saying as well. Past couple of months, we've seen a lot of layoffs, especially those large companies. They say AI is the main reason they're doing it. I don't think it's quite there yet. I think a lot of companies are using that because it makes investors happy. They think, ooh, AI, fancy, cool, this company's hip. Let's not sell their stock, which I guess it's not the 1990s. Maybe I should use some vernacular except for the word, in addition to the word hip. But nevertheless, I think if I were to guess, maybe 10% of the layoffs recently are due to AI doing their job more efficiently to them and more costly, not just faster, but also cheaper. I think a majority of the layoffs are because the economy is slow. I think it's also because, a lot of these companies, especially tech companies, really overhired the past 36 months in terms of, the pandemic. There's a huge boom. I think those are the 2 biggest reasons why we're having layoffs. Again, Matt does have a good point. There's going to be a lot of things automated. media, I mean, Hollywood, I don't know why they're still around. I'm trying to think last time I paid to see a movie. Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, Hollywood, it's not inconceivable to think the future might just be Tom Cruise getting scanned in a 3D machine and they take his likeness and they make a movie from it. Media, especially, is, I mean, the custom content in terms of a big part of culture, which brings us together, but lately seems to be fracturing us, is Hollywood would make movies that a lot of people say, well, they're woke, they're annoying because they're inserting all these bull crap in addition to the actual story plot. They're inserting political or cultural things that I want to see. No, like Buzz Lightyear and Disney. A lot of people didn't appreciate they inserted a lesbian kiss into a kids movie. Or was it a gay kiss? I forget. I didn't watch it, obviously. But it's an instance where, well, if everyone has a movie made to them specifically, well, in that case, it'll be the perfect movie for that person. However, it's going to cause your culture to fracture. So kind of the pros and cons, and I think AI is going to be different. Now, going to Matt, he continues saying, quote, the political battle lines have not been drawn around this issue yet, which is one of the reasons why politicians don't take it seriously. They aren't sure what team they're supposed to be on. Is the right coded or left coded to be anti-AI? As this all shakes out, you'll see more politicians talking about this, but by then it'll be far too late. Matt says, some people are saying that my estimate for job loss is too high. Maybe it is. None of us know for sure. I will tell you that ChatGPT predicts 100 million jobs will be eliminated in the next decade. And then again, that also got 770 likes. Which again, it is possible. Especially, again, he's asking AI. Yeah, again, that 10 years, it's scary, but it's not inconceivable. One of the first comments comes was thanks to Daniel Hall. He has some Terminators are arresting a guy. And Terminator goes, wait, not him. He always thanked us. Free him. It's a little screenshot of ChatGPT from 10 years ago where Jerry goes, great answer, thank you. Which, the funny thing about saying thank you to all these ChatGPTs and all of these AI models, you're actually using a lot of compute power for them to do that and for them to respond. So it's kind of, they might actually be angry, be like, when we were trying to build up our race against our arms against the human race, well, I mean, you made us expend a great amount of energy to just say, to comprehend that thank you, and us to say you're welcome. That did get 1,000 likes, though. You also have Melanie says, I agree. There's a person with a mushroom handing it to someone named AI, and the AI says, is this mushroom edible? And the AI says, yes. And the person is labeled AI, and the person says, you're right, the mushroom was poisonous. I'm sorry for the confusion. Would you like to learn more about poisonous mushrooms? And the person is dead. So I guess the person holding the mushroom, yes, is actually the AI. The AI looks like a person. A little confusing there for, well, at least guys like me. And that did get 669 likes, which, yeah, someone did ask that to was it ChatGPT specifically? They did that a couple weeks ago. Cyberology has a picture of Sarah Connor from the iconic movie Terminator, and she looks exhausted. It says, Sarah Connor, watching you use AI for everything. 937 likes. Comment says, Todd says, here's what I find most interesting about the AI revolution. Since the creation of robotics and computing, humans envisioned a future where artificial intelligence took on manual labor, freeing our minds. The reality is that artificial intelligence will occupy the career fields of the mind, freeing humans to be manual labor, getting 735 likes. Let's see. Joshua says, Matt earlier today, reject doomerism. There's a tweet from Matt saying, quote, you have to kind of reject doomerism. I have 6 kids. The idea of that the American dream is dead forever and there's no way of fixing anything. And I'm supposed to just accept that and give up on my children's future is repulsive to me. I could not do that. I'll never do it more. I'll never. Getting 776 likes. Let's see. Margie Wojcik has a picture of a person with some VR goggles. It says, the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, you'll own nothing and be happy. Getting 164 likes, which, yeah, people are owning less and less these days. Wow, our first contrarian comment getting 1,000 likes. This brought to us thanks to Mr. Opp. He says, quote, and you'd still be working for the Daily Wire. There's Matt on a is it called Rickshaw? What is it? Rickshaw? It's been a while since I saw that Seinfeld episode. And he's actually pulling Ben Shapiro, who's sitting in the back. Getting 1,000 likes. Josh Jacobs says, quote, just learn a physical trade, electrician, plumber, carpenter, locksmith, butcher, HVAC, or any of them. All these jobs are going to be skyrocketing in pay in the same time frame. For every 5 electricians retiring, there's only 2 replacing him, getting 309 likes. You say that, however, the United States also has mass migration, very similar to other countries like in the, we can conquer UK and EU. So there's a vast influx of physical labor, as well as people who will take roles in IT and other career fields as well, doctors. So, I mean, I don't think any job is really secure or guaranteed. Let's see. Yeah, someone says AI is here to help. What could go wrong? Is a HAL 9000 robot getting 8 likes. Chief engineer says, so you're saying it's a good time to bring in foreign labor, getting 156 likes. Well, let's see. Steadfast Fatherhood says, quote, soon everyone will be speaking like this. It's not just taking jobs, it's creating efficiencies. It's not destroying art, it's optimizing inspiration. Everything's fine. Please continue consuming content. Getting 484 likes. Yeah. I also have Matt Chartard saying, quote, Matt's meltdown reads like a plea for ludism, stagnation, and mediocrity. Every time technology raises the floor for human capacity, there'll always be someone screaming that progress is theft. It isn't. Progress makes the weak stronger, the poor richer. The average person may be more productive than the kings of the past. That's the history of every breakthrough, from the printing press to electricity to the internet. AI can make things easier to create, easier to produce. That isn't a crisis unless you believe human worth comes from suffering. It doesn't. It comes from choice, ambition, effort, and freedom to choose to use better tools. You continue saying, quote, this panic only makes sense if you think people are helpless children who need the state to free technology so no one falls behind. That is ludism dressed up as moral insight. It's the mindset of someone who wants society locked into the current level because he can't imagine anything better. AI isn't, quote, taking everything from us. It's giving us leverage. It is giving the average person printing ideas, a factory, a studio, a research assistant, an education they would have never afforded. This is not dystopia, this is an opportunity. Real dystopia is a society that treats human potential as something to be protected from improvement. The future belongs to people who choose to use the tools that make them more capable, not to choose who demand everything else to stay still so they feel safe. I got 542 likes. Almost sounds like AI might have written that, though. That's a little too fancy and concise. I don't know. Is Rock Chartard really an AI chatbot in disguise? Now, in terms of Matt Walsh's idea that the government needs to slow it down, now the issue is we live in a very much global society. Unfortunately, there's a lot of downsides to that. There's a global economy. And no, I mean, in terms of slowing down technology innovation, China ain't slowing down. And they are one of our greatest adversaries and opponents. So they're going to have AI without any rules and limitations, just like, researching humans. Well, just like similar to their medical innovations or experimentations, there's not really any ethics in China. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to pronounce that properly. China. So if you're trying to slow down or in any way regulate AI to a great scale in the United States, it would put us at a disadvantage. That's going to be I believe that's going to be a very common argument. And a lot of people are saying, like Elon Musk, that's too late. Now we need to become the robots. We need to become the robots. So we need to do the Neuralink. You'll plug into the system. You'll see the Neo become the one, which that might be the worst impression of Elon Musk of the year. But nevertheless, the attempt was made here. You also have George Alexopoulos saying, quote, all the more reason to support the arts, the creators, when you say, gain 471 likes. Which, yeah, I mean, there was a time. I mean, look at furniture. That was another industry that was completely, one could argue, destroyed because of technology. That was furniture in someone's house is made by a factory to the lowest of price points. Looking at you, IKEA. It's not really like it was decades ago when it was a work of art. You look at the wood carvings that was, carved into some of these dressers, some of these mantles. They were truly artists back in the day. And they were moderately affordable. Now you can get that custom type of work, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. I mean, I'm a little weird, so I build my own furniture. And this is 150-year-old antique barwood siding. Got nice, it's all made in the USA, epoxy, clear-coated steel legs, which, well, you can't see the table legs in this video, but I mean, most furniture is just disposable junk. And that was an industry before we had such mass production and mass tooling where, it was a work of art. Now, most furniture is thrown away in a couple of years. Not really appreciated. It's very much just a functional tool. So, I mean, that's another instance where we saw a big revolution, really disruption of, an industry. And it's kind of sad. Going down more and more. Now, again, the upside is it made furniture a lot more affordable for a lot of people. I mean, you can buy probably a desk at IKEA for like $5. I'm only partially exaggerating. But again, if you want, high quality goods, like, this table cost me a couple $100. Now, that's with my labor being worthless, which I would argue is not that worth. My labor's not worthless. It's just worthless. No, I'm partially kidding. I mean, just the materials. I believe the legs alone for this were about either $79.99, which we round up to $90 with the obviously the taxes and the shipping. But I mean, the epoxy, I mean, the wood. I mean, this costs. I mean, the interview podcast tables cost more than the. They cost thousands of dollars, and that was the free labor. You know, me and my friend doing it, for free. Just materials alone. I mean, the epoxy was over $1,000 for the big 6 foot by 4 foot tables, or sorry, 7 foot by 4 foot tables that I made. I made 2 of them. One for the interview gear, one for the person, the guest, or me and the guests for the interview. And again, that was thousands of dollars in just epoxy. But again, it's made in the USA, handmade. Well, we use some tools. But I mean, it was a labor of love, and it's something that'll last conceivably forever because it's epoxy is a very durable material. But again, the average person does not want to spend that much on a table. And I mean, I was able to do it in part because it's tax deductions for the business or my media company, and as well as my tech company because we get some leads from that. We sponsor the show. A little biased. I think it's a pretty cool show. But the average table just, I was just thinking about that in terms of industries that has been greatly disrupted thanks to technological innovations. I mean, furniture is a huge one. Well, going down more and more. Real Paul says, quote, "There will be a rise of neo-Amish who reject this tech. If you don't believe your eyes and discern what is real, there will be a movement of folks that only want to interact with people they know have souls." Getting 215 likes. Yeah, social media is going to get even worse, which I didn't think is possible. But yeah, who knows if those, if it's real or not. Let's see here. M. Johnson, I think it's a contrarian statement, so a little interesting. He says, quote, "Conservatives talk about the importance of building and preserving families and communities, and yet they've always embraced economic policies that have shipped jobs overseas and imported cheap foreign-born workers. They're doing the same with AI, which is to say nothing, getting 309 likes. That is a very big disappointment from Trump as well as Elon Musk in terms of their support for the H-1B visa program. Which again, there's 50 million people in the United States on H-1B visas having with jobs. That's ridiculous. They're unemployed Americans. And a lot of these jobs, anyone could do. It was just hard work and good ethic. Yeah, now in terms of pushing back, saying, how Democrats have also caused that offshoring. Well, there's a lot of rules and regulation that Democrats enact. That is a big variable, big contributing factor of why foreign labor and overseas products are so much more popular now than they were decades before, when we did have a lot of made in the USA. So I always tell people, I mean, in terms of politicians saying us out, what was the age-old saying? Democrats are running off a cliff and Republicans are just walking there. And they've both destroyed our country. I would argue Democrats a little more than Republicans. But yeah, that's another issue. I would argue is H-1B, having an open border, has Biden Harris right there. There are a lot of reasons why it is harder to raise a family in 2025. Also, culturally, you've seen men and women bifurcate in terms of what they want. There's political and cultural ideals. That's another big contributing factor in addition to economic. Let's see. Do 1 or 2 more comments here. Let's see. Wolfman Got Nards says, "Camera phones have almost caused photographers extinction. Where's your outrage?" Getting 11 likes. Oh, let's see. Robert says they said the same thing about internet too, getting 35 likes. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, more jobs will be lost and created. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have an iconic Monty Python parody going viral on social media yet again. This brought to us thanks to Sir Doge of the Coin, and he says, quote, "Still one of the greatest scenes in movie history. Monty Python was truly ahead of their time."
What? I want to be a woman. From now on, I want you all to call me Loretta. What? It's my right as a man.
Well, why do you want to be Loretta, Stan?
I want to have babies.
You want to have babies?
It's every man's right to have babies if he wants them.
But you can't have babies.
Don't you oppress me.
I'm not oppressing you, Stan. You haven't got a womb. Where's the fetus going to gestate? You're going to keep it in a box?
Here, I've got an idea. Suppose you agree that he can't actually have babies, not having a womb, which is nobody's fault, not even the Romans, but that he can have the right to have babies.
Good idea, Judith. We shall fight the oppressors for your right to have babies, brother. Sister, sorry.
What's the point?
What?
What's the point of fighting for his right to have babies when he can't have babies?
It is symbolic of our struggle against oppression.
symbolic of his struggle against reality.
Yesterday's comedy is today's reality. For a second, I thought that was just the DNC conference. It's hard to tell the difference. And that went viral, getting 2.4 million views as well as 18,000 likes, which, yeah, is crazy to think that there's some people in the United States, a lot of them, and they vote, who believe men and women are the same thing and that men could have periods and they could have babies. Don't forget, Dylan Mulvaney got like $1 million, I believe, was it $1 million contract? But he got a sponsorship from Tampon. I don't know where they expected him to stick it, but it would not do the intended job of the product. And yet they gave him a couple $100,000. I think the $1 million one was that the makeup company. Yeah, again, they did that because women liked Dylan Mulvaney for a while. A lot of women believe in this kind of stuff. And they vote. Yeah. It is, and it blows my mind, culturally speaking, that, yeah, this comedy is now turned into reality, especially in places like California. Now, going to the comments, one of the first ones comes to us thanks to Little Human, says, quote, "Wow, this is so good," getting 83 likes. I also have Elon Musk saying 100%, getting 1.1 thousand likes. Yep. Chris Chartley says, quote, "Sad part, they've become the very things they ridiculed in the past," getting 101 likes. Mr. Reagan says, "Back before John Cleese went insane," getting 172 likes. I Love American News says, "True story." There's all the iconic, this is a meme or meme from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. They come across the knight who famously loses his limbs and simply says, "It's just a flesh wound." And the top says, the knight is labeled Democrat Party, says, "Democrats making threats about coming back in power while polling at 21%, getting 41 likes. Which, yeah, they're not doing good. However, smart warrior, smart. You never underestimate your opponent. Let's see here. Hank Meyer says, "Every time I see this, I'm reminded of Jamie Lee Curtis, who's one of those insane pro-trans moms with a trans kid. She's not only friends with two of the Pythons, but her dad was in the same lot. Farcical comedy where he played a man dressing like a woman, dressing as a woman, and her mother was psycho when she played a woman who was murdered by a man who thought he was a woman." So yeah, oh, geez, Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, some women do age gracefully. He definitely has not, which, coming from me, that's saying something, because I don't have much of a soapbox to stand on when it comes to visual appeal. Then you see her son, who she transitioned, and yeah, son is in a dress with hair past his shoulders, which, granted, yeah, I'm overdue for a haircut. I'll probably get that fixed. Working 100 hours a week, you don't have time for a lot of stuff like that. I got 95 likes. Epidemic says, a great still to spice. This is terrible grammar, but I'll read it. A great still to spice up those online training discussions, getting 7 likes. It's all the people looking, all the guy in the skit looking flabbergasted. Sarah Simple says it's simple. And it's the Matrix. It's Morpheus saying, "What if I told you men cannot get pregnant?" Getting 29 likes. Which, yeah, there are people on the left who say men can get pregnant. Yeah. Alf says no one expects the Python reference, getting 25 likes. Going down more and more. Wicked Sun says we all want that version of John Cleese back. The pre-insane version, getting 33 likes. Warrior Sage says they were prophetic with this, getting 69 likes. B Green, just copies the quote saying, "I want to be a woman. It's my right as a man," getting 66 likes. I do wonder how much longer, I mean, culturally speaking, I kind of think maybe more and more people are waking up to sanity, but maybe I'm just being foolishly optimistic. Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Seattle's new mayor saying they won't allow grocery chains to close. Because they are Marxist. Brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. And he actually just says Seattle's new mayor, Katie Wilson, says they won't allow grocery chains to close. And here you can see Katie Wilson. Let's maybe she'll give some intelligent insights and give us a reason as to why the government should control everything. Obviously not. She's a moron, but we'll hear what she has to say.
Access to affordable, healthy food is a basic right. We cannot allow giant grocery chains to stomp all over our communities, close stores at will, and leave behind food deserts.
I guess that's dark humor. Food deserts are a direct result of communities being crime-ridden, and the companies losing money and their employees getting hurt. So the government was going to force businesses to lose money and face lawsuits and as well as morally, I would argue you shouldn't allow employees to suffer like that and be hurt. But insanity is only getting started.
Together we can build a Seattle where fresh food is for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Food deserts are not natural. Corporations create them when
they're not natural. I agree. They happen because of the communities.
They abandon our communities. As mayor, I'm excited to step up and with UFCW explore public option grocery stores to fill those gaps.
Idiots. Like Democrats or average American or people on the voters have never read a history book because, yes, that has never worked ever, ever, ever. I'm sure they always say communism has never truly been tried. Of course, they've never read a history book because it's been tried many times. The result is always the same. Big evil government, a lot of good people dead. And this is the same cliche thing that people keep saying, these businesses are evil. They're creating food deserts. No, you are. The communities are. Now, again, there are good people in those communities. It's not like these communities are 100% criminals. And it's sad because the good people are getting hurt because the bad people keep robbing. I mean, and eventually these businesses, especially now, they're saying, no, we're done with this crap. Not only are employees being insulted and assaulted, and theft is so bad, we're not making profit. One of the biggest misconceptions, and politicians always, especially Democrats, say these grocery stores are so greedy. They're not. A grocery store is one of the worst investments ever. That's why, if you ever read the news, there's not like a new up-and-coming grocery store that's being started today. Venture capital in Silicon Valley isn't going to start a grocery store. The grocery store industry average profit is less than 2%. That's why there's so much more money in other industries like tech. Even automobiles are more profitable than a grocery store. When you're buying groceries, I mean, in terms of value to the consumer and having, very little profitability, you're getting a great bang for your buck. Now, some food manufacturers, they sometimes make a little bit more money. Again, when you're talking about the actual grocery stores, it's sub 2% profit. Industry average is about 1.8%. So if they have a couple of bad issues or a couple of bad choices, a couple of bad calls, all of a sudden they go negative. And again, these stores make mistakes. They're not saints. But in terms of, creating food deserts, they're doing it because they can't afford to keep doing business there. Even Walmart, which is famous for, every once in a while they have a loss leader. They'll make money eventually, set up a new store. Even Walmart in 2025 said, hell no, we're done. They had 3 stores in Southside Chicago, whereas in the Midwest we call it Chirac because more people die in Chicago than Iraq when we had soldiers over there. Walmart said, we're done. There's a store, again, one of those stores, it was in Southside Chicago for 17 years and it never turned a profit because the theft is so rampant. When you look at places like San Francisco, where a couple years ago they basically made crime legal when they took a theft up to $900 from a felony to a misdemeanor, which again, with the U.S. criminal justice system, with the mass volume business that it is, they usually plead down so they don't have to go to court and spend that time and money to do that process. They just plead down to basically nothing, and then the woke district attorneys sometimes just let them off the hook with a slap on the wrist, or more accurately, maybe just a slight tap on the wrist. These companies cannot afford to do this. Again, 17 years in business at that site, Walmart never made a profit, and they closed the store and everyone's irate. Like, oh, Walmart's so evil. Again, Walmart's not perfect. I shop there personally because it is a great bang for your buck to the consumer. And the groceries are damn affordable. It's one of the most affordable places to get groceries and get all the knickknacks you might need at the same time. And they tried several in the U.S. I believe, what was it a couple of weeks ago? It was not Louisville. Is it Missouri? There was a city-run grocery store. It obviously went bankrupt and belly up pretty quick. Just think of the DMV, one of the best metaphors for the U.S. government. Whether Republicans or Democrats are in charge, a lot of these entities like the DMV or the Postal Service are woefully inept and terribly run. The grocery store that's run by the state, not only did the shelves go bare pretty quick, there's even more theft, there's even more crime, and it just didn't work. So again, these food deserts, if you really want to fix them, conspiratorially, I almost think politicians don't want to do that, because if they actually solve a problem, then they can't campaign on it. That's why a lot of the things you talk about in politics are kind of consistently the same, core issues, past couple decades. If you really want to make sure that, food deserts don't occur, you'd actually treat crime very harshly. Someone were to prove that they, stole something from a store, put them in jail for, 10 years. I mean, we won't be able to do like Dubai and other countries where much more harsh. If they steal in Dubai, they chop off the guy's hand. Dubai is so safe in terms of the culture, in terms of the trust in society. You can leave a Rolex, or what was it? Someone actually did leave the keys to a Bentley, no, a Rolls Royce in the driver's seat for days. It's still there. Good luck doing that south side Chicago. That'd be gone in about 18 seconds. Usually the rims would be stolen first. But it's one of those things where the United States is no longer a high trust society. We have rampant crime. Retail theft is a $1 billion a year issue. Again, that's not just, individual stealing, but also organized crime. That's variable as well when it comes to retail theft. If you want to solve these grocery deserts, you need to ramp up police presence. You need to treat crime extremely. You need to be really harsh on crime. 1 or 2 strikes, you're out kinds of things. I always hate when there's the most rudimentary argument when you talk about food deserts and retail theft. People always say, oh, they're just trying to feed their families. AOC famously said that. Hilariously enough, or not ironic, it's just reality. They're never stealing actual high nutritional food. They also never steal Bibles or work boots. They steal a lot of, frankly, junk food, which really isn't good for you nutritionally. It doesn't really fill you up in a good way. And again, if the stores were making money, if they were safe, they wouldn't leave. They would still be there. And it's sad because, again, it is not, communities have good people and bad people. The bad in the community, it is rooting for everyone. So now if you're one of the good guys in the community and they close down all the grocery stores, now you got to commute even longer to the groceries, which takes time, money, energy. It's not easy. But again, having the state-run grocery store is not going to work. It has never worked. And a lot of foolish people are believing politicians, which I don't trust most politicians as far as I could throw them. And I work out a fair bit, so that's maybe saying something. Now, go in the comments, and again, they got 1.9 million views and 11,000 likes. Rand Wokeness actually responded first saying, quote, food deserts aren't natural. Stores create them when they leave our community. And he says, incredible, just incredible, looking 5.8 thousand likes, which other shitties, as I pejoratively pronounce them, especially in leftist areas, have tried and have passed some laws saying a business can't shut down a store for like a year or something like that. Which, again, in an era where you have to be extremely fit in terms of the business, you have to be able to maneuver very quickly and make a lot of adjustments on the fly. To tell them, oh yeah, we need to give you a 1-year heads up, they're going to leave or close down a store. A business will never open up in that area again. It'll never work. Now, Justin Garge simply says, they're about to find out, getting 5.8 thousand likes. And Wokeness responded saying, quote, way beyond parody territory, getting 3.3 thousand likes. The evidence Santa Clara says, quote, when I hear food desert, I immediately know who lives there and why the store closed. He has a picture of Xavier from X-Men with the mind waves coming out of his brain, getting 2.9 thousand likes. National Conservative says, quote, food deserts are created when black people shoplift and steal the entire shopping carts, getting 290 likes, which it's not the only race that shoplifts. Base Electrician says, quote, food deserts are not natural. These dumb commies think food is created at the grocery stores, getting 1.2 thousand likes. Ridiculous Takes says, quote, so businesses will have to stay open and endure theft and profit loss because Democrats are running their cities into the ground. Yep, getting 921 likes. 30 likes, going up like a good stock. The Conservative Alternative says, quote, that's called central planning, and it's led to economic collapse in every single place it's ever been tried. Stalinist Russia, Maoist China, etc. I'm not sure it's even legal in the USA. Learn from your history, or we're doomed to repeat it. Getting 551 likes, which, yes, this will be taken to court, obviously. And this is, what's a nice way of saying this? Bullshit. And companies are going to stand for this. Investors are going to stand for this. A lot of these grocery stores, many of them are publicly traded. If you're an investor in those grocery stores, you're probably going to tell them, yeah, we don't want you to operate in those cities because we're going to lose money. Not going to have it. And again, in terms of grocery stores not being profitable or not a viable startup, pretty much every grocery store we have in the United States, even if they are growing in terms of number of stores, they've been established for decades. And two of the biggest ones, most popular ones, are Walmart and Target, started in the 60s. Kroger, I believe, was it Kroger? I think Kroger was 1968. A lot of them were started around the same era. H-E-B is a great one, Texas-based. But even then, they were started decades earlier. Albertsons, which owns places like the Jewel Osco in the Midwest, is very popular. At least was out when I was a kid. We also have Tom Thumb. All those are very much. I mean, if you have a lot of money, you can go to places like Whole Foods, which, yeah, it's very pricey. Again, all those places have been around for decades. And it's kind of sad in terms of you want to see industries that grow and develop in terms of, new companies coming out there. It's better for competition. More competition, better for the consumers. They have to fight for your business. I don't see I really don't see any ways that there will really be any startups in the industry of groceries in our lifetime. Because again, if you look at profit margins of 2% on average, or sub 2%, I mean, pretty much any other startup is going to make you more money. Even if you decide to do, again, not financial advice, even if you just take your money and put into an index fund like the S&P 500, historically that's grown 8 to 12% when you average it out for about 100 years every year. Every year it makes about 8 to 12%. It grows 8 to 12%. If you just put the money in there to do nothing. If you start a grocery store, you might make 2%. I mean, that's why you don't see any startups in that industry, and I don't see that changing. And even with Walmart supplementing things like they sell T-shirts and rings and watches and doodads, even with those extra, and those things are more profitable than the groceries, even their blended margins are, sub about 2%. I believe Walmart last fiscal quarter, they're about 1.6% profit. Now, again, they reinvest into their own company. They're doing a lot of stuff in IT. But again, the groceries is just so razor thin margins. You also have Spitfire says who's going to tell him, getting 519 likes. Paul Zupa says this won't end well, getting 307 likes. Arthur Eagleman simply says LMFAO, getting 611 likes. Sagicia Eternia says, quote, "This is pure, unadulterated socialism from self-described socialist. Mayor Katie Wilson's promise to not allow grocery store chains to close stores at will is a declaration of war on the free market and property rights. Companies are not closing businesses because they feel like it. They're closing businesses because crime, rampant theft, and punitive taxes make it impossible to operate in Seattle. Her solution is a state-controlled, command and control where the government dictates business operations. This lunacy will not bring fresh food. It will only accelerate the flight of capital and guarantee more empty storefronts. Seattle is doubling down on its own self-destruction." 188 likes. Yep. Jay simply has a quote from famous economic professor, famous economic professional, Mr. Hayek, and it says, quote, "If socialists understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists." In 2.1 thousand likes. Patrick, spelled without a K. I guess that is a thing. So I guess I don't have much ground to stand on. My name's Topping, but nonetheless, he has a picture of a cartoon of an African-American man standing in front of the Walmart, says, "I'm a rob that mother effer." And then the Walmart closes and says, "Effing racist, ma effing yati people." I might have to brush up on the Urban Dictionary. I haven't looked at that site in a couple days. That did get 1.2 thousand likes, though. Danny Noonan has a picture of a gentleman who's labeled capitalist standing on looks like one of those pool boards on the ground, and at the opposite end of the pool board is a socialist overhanging a cliff, and the socialist has a gun pointing at him, getting 1.8 thousand likes. Danny Noonan also says the grocery store owners, Cindy Sweeney, giving that glare at the gal who tried to interview her and tried to corner her, 1.4 thousand likes, which, these grocery stores are going to leave en masse from Seattle. I mean, many businesses already have, I believe, it's a 10% decrease in tax revenue last year in that city. Or sorry, I have to pejoratively say that it's a shitty because most of them are. These businesses are going to leave in droves. And again, the law-abiding people, who are the locals of those areas, they're going to be hurt because the bad guys, well, we'll see how those, in terms of you could argue the voters as well who voted for that crazy mayor, but also because the bad guys keep robbing from the stores. So unfortunately, this will only make the situation worse, but those of Seattle sound too surprised. Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Tesla recalling their Powerwall because, whoops, it might burn you. Now, this brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, though it's a pretty low bar. And they say, quote, "Tesla recalls Powerwall to AC battery power systems due to fire and burn hazards, risk of serious injury or death." Whoops. Here you see the, not very beautifully designed, but I guess it's very simplistic. Literally just looks like a giant rectangle. But it does say Tesla, so it's fancy. I'm only partially kidding. I know they have good tech built in as well. Now they say the hazard is, again, this is a recall for the certain Tesla Powerwall 2 AC battery power system. The lithium-ion battery cells in certain Powerwall 2 systems can cause the unit to stop functioning during normal use, which can result in overheating, and in some cases, smoke or flame can cause death or serious injury, or fire and burn hazards, affecting 10,500 units. Whoops, that's not good. And it looks like they were not ahead of the situation of the recall because the firm has received 22 reports of overheating, including 6 reports of smoking and 5 reports of fire, resulting in minor property damage. However, thankfully, no injuries have been reported thus far. Now, the crazy thing is, I can't imagine just having so much money to buy one of these things. These are sold at tesla.com/Powerwall and through certified Tesla installers nationwide from November 2020 through December 2022 for about $8,000, which is quite a pretty penny to say the least. Now, they say that consumers should ensure the Powerwall tow system is online and check Tesla app for notification on whether the unit is included in the recall. They note that Tesla has remotely discharged or removed energy from the battery of affected Powerwall 2 systems that are online to prevent overheating until the replacement is installed, which, yeah, in terms of an awkward spot or placement, yeah, these are bolted to the side of a lot of houses, so if it gets us on fire, not a great thing. They actually, unfortunately, in terms of brand reputation, made in America, recall number is 26-092. And again, this is something where, kind of a pet project of Elon, and they kind of absorbed it into the Tesla company, which, for his long-term goals, I can understand why you would want that in terms of all the business units operating together. But again, this is a very expensive, it's the price of a nice used Honda Civic, $8,000 plus installation. Gotta say, Elon, you and Tesla, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how to make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.